has 2 thumbs and turns 26 today? This girl! So guess what? We're doing a video. My 25th year has passed, so we're gonna do 25 books for my 25th year. What's the deal with these 25 books? My favorite, my least favorite, the most spicy? Am I gonna be ranking them? No! All I care to share with you are the 25 books that I felt were the most important for my reading journey as a 25-year-old. All 25 of these books, they have affected me in one way or another. I'm gonna give you the rundown. Let's go pick out the books. These were the ones that were on my living room bookshelf.
Well, you thought you could hide away the key, causing me trouble.
You can tell just by this frame. It's been like 3 hours. I went and got a new coffee and here we are. We're back to talk about books. Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. This book 100% changed my life, and I'm not being dramatic when I say it. Will and I have been going to Charleston since we've been together. I'm pretty positive that we lived a past life there, but we can talk about that another time. Before last August, I was a nonfiction reader. Yeah, I was. I did not mess with fiction at all. In fact, I was like very against fiction. Why? Society. There's some idiots out there that'll make a girl feel stupid if they like fiction. Up until last August, I gave in to that. Let me tell you a story though about how we should just trust the flow of life. 2022, I was on a octopus kick. Non-fiction. And the way that they're written about, they're too interesting of an animal to be lame or boring, right? So I was reading a lot of octopus books. Rookie mistake, we went to Charleston last year and I only brought one book. We had a layover, so we had one flight, a layover, and then we were going to Charleston. And in that layover, I said, Will, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm done with my book. I don't know why I only brought one book. You know, everything happens for a reason. It was Texas, I'm gonna say it was a Dallas airport or something. I know it was a Texas one, I'm pretty sure. We circled that airport for multiple bookstores. They have the magazine stores with books in them. They didn't have any fun nonfiction. Fun nonfiction, huh? They didn't have any memoirs that I was in. They didn't have any memoirs. They didn't have any memoirs that I was interested in. I said, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't know what I'm gonna do. And I get headaches if I'm on my phone too long. So I looked at the fiction, I said, I guess. I'm gonna have a terrible time, but I guess, you know? I picked up this book. Like I said, a theme for 2022 was octopuses, so I thought, this goes in tandem. If I'm gonna have to read fiction, at least the cover goes with my other octopus covers, you know, whoop-de-doo, I don't know. I read this in 24 hours, maybe 48 hours. It was the quickest book that I had read in years. Because nonfiction books, it takes you so long because you have to process things. I was hooked. I said, what have I been doing? Why have I been thinking a certain way? Why do I care about anyone's opinion? What is going on? And I never looked back. Reading this book is what gave me permission to say, you know what? Go get yourself another fiction book. Yeah. Be daring, be brave, take that jump even if you're scared, you know? Feel the fear and do it anyways. Yeah. Because of this book, now I get to sit here and say, 25 books that I read in my 25th year. And guess what? I read like 85 books. I'm just highlighting 25 of them. Girl. I could have never guessed. So a lot of stuff can happen in a year. Even when the universe said let go and allow yourself, just indulge in a little fiction, I said no. Smart girls read nonfiction. I forced myself to get an octopus book because I was reading nonfiction octopus. It's crazy how the world works. Oh my gosh, and this just fell out. This is my boarding ticket. It's Dallas Fort Worth. Yep, that's where we were. That's where we got this book. Oh my gosh. It's so cute. Oh my gosh. So we had a book that got me interested in the idea of reading fiction again. Now we have the books that got me hooked. The books that said, I am never turning back. This is the first book that I knew about before it was released and I was patiently waiting on And that was so cute because I went on the day that it was released. Oh my gosh. These are so cute. I love just thinking like this is where we're at now. My witch fiction. Ugh, I'm a slut for witch fiction. That is my favorite genre. I love witch fiction. I remember thinking that the X-Hex didn't look too big, but it looked like something maybe I would read. I got it off one of the romance tables at Barnes & Noble. I loved it so much. I looked into it, found out this one was coming out whenever this one came out. I used to write in them the date that I started it, September 21st. So this had to have come out like September 21st or the day before. The Wedding Wish comes out October of next year, 2024. So that'll be very, very exciting. What do you think it is? What do you think it is? More witch fiction. Yeah, you're right. What's going on here? Oh, only one of my favorite witch series ever. They're so easy if you were just getting started on witch fiction and you like rom-coms. These are really good just to dip your toes in. It's a rom-com with a little bit of magic sprinkled in there, a little bit of witchiness. Witch Please, Boss Witch, and Extra Witchy. These two are by far my favorites. Oh my gosh. The men in these two are just so hunky. This one's necessary to read though. All three of them are part of a coven. I would love to be ahead on my reading goal when it gets to be October because these are the books that I would love to read in October. This type of book is what I search for when I look for witchy books. Witchy and rom-com books. There's a difference when it comes to witchy fiction. There's some that's more heavy on like the witchness of it, and then there's some that's more heavy on kind of the romance and the relationship and the character development and that type of thing. And I think that these are more like the rom-comness and the character development. That's what these ones more are. It bugs the shit out of me that this one's blue and then the other two are the same shade of purple pretty much. What are you gonna do? Let's get into my dystopian era and how these three dystopian books changed the game for me. The Grace Year and Wilder Girls, for me they paint the physical image in my head of what it feels like energetically to be a girl, a woman, when it kind of feels sometimes like society puts you against each other for what? Men? With these two books, it's been very refreshing to observe strong, powerful female characters in a world where you're constantly looking over your shoulder. You never know if you're gonna live or die. You're also not sure if others around you want you to live or die. It was important to me to see these strong female characters even when they were taken advantage of or mistreated, and with the other female characters like around them that create the story, that are going through the experience with them and how some of them act certain ways. There's always a reason for what we as women do and how we treat one another. And it's really interesting to see who's motivated by fear, who's motivated by love, and how they come face to face for what they stand for and what they're gonna do as they continue on this journey, this experience. I hope that I'm explaining this in a good light. I love this type of story, and there's just like a teeny weensy bit of romance in them, but that makes it even better. Like I was just gobbling that up. These two I just read very fast. I loved these just get me really excited for what's to come. Reading fiction, reading dystopian type books. Cake Eater, this is such an interesting book for me to choose, but I knew right away that I would choose this. Here's the thing, I rated this a 3. This book made me so mad. The way that this made me feel, I haven't stopped thinking about since. That had to have been, I think, November. I got this in November when I went to Barnes & Noble with my grandfather. I picked this up because Marie Antoinette was a major focus for me throughout my college experience in fashion. She was just always someone that was easy to write papers about. I have an extensive background with Marie Antoinette as a research subject. So I was really intrigued when I saw Cake Eater. She has a phone. I was like, what is happening here? This book is set in the year 3070, and so it's very, it's very futuristic. Marie Antoinette arrives at Versailles. She's a influencer. She's getting married to King Louis. If you know Marie Antoinette's story, it's very similar, just in the futuristic version of it. Something about this fucking book for me, I feel very attached to it for some reason. The story is not over. You know how there's times where you just need a second story? Like you need it. You need closure. I don't have closure on some stuff that happened in this book, but I'm like, it's just a fucking book. Just write a second one. You know what I mean? Just write a second one, please. Please write a second one. I need that so desperately as a reader. I haven't recommended this to anyone, and that's why I want to reread it, because I know that I have a lot of ties just with the history of Marie Antoinette, so that might be why it's easier for me to imagine things. It's easier for me to get attached to like the characters, get attached to the storyline. I don't necessarily know who I'd recommend it to yet. I cannot get over it, how badly this book needs a friend, needs a buddy. This book definitely made its mark on me. Kit McBride gets a wife. Okay, this is so exciting. I love this one. This book got me into Westerns. You know what turns me away from the Westerns for fiction are covers. They're kind of ugly and they remind me of like Better Homes magazines. It's not my vibe. This cover was my vibe. And so I saw a horse and I said, grabbing it right this second. Horses, oh my gosh. Me and horses are like, it takes place in 1886. So I love that they just like ride a horse to get places. But it's 4 brothers, 1 baby girl sister. The parents pass away. The baby girl sister puts in an order for a bride. She saves up her money and she puts an ad in the paper and she's like, listen, my oldest brother Kit, he needs a bride. But he has no idea that she's doing this. This one was so cute. The sequel just came out. I need to order the sequel. I'm so excited. One of the other brothers has his moment. Cowboys, home to mama. I talked about witch fiction and I showed you a few of the books that really kept me going, kept the wheels moving on my witch fiction journey. Oh, I'm a Libra rising. The bitch loves a theme. That's why I like fall, because there's so many different types of themes you can do. After Halloween, as much as I love witch fiction, even I'm aware that, okay, maybe it's time to take a break. There's other types of fall books. I turned away from witch fiction for a second. And what did I run right into the arms of? Christmas books. Ho, 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 bitch. There's something about Mary. I definitely bought this book because the pink, and there's a puppy on the cover. I remember being like, if this is the Christmas selection, no. I was so irritated because there's such good selection and such good covers for Halloween and fall, the Halloween spirit. I didn't feel at the beginning of the season that that was the case for Christmas books. They all looked the same. Just give me a little something that's just like a little bit different. And what was different about this one was the fact that this one was pink. I've had a couple people read it and there was a little bit of talk about the fact that it's 400 pages. There's probably not a reason for it to be 400 pages, but I love the detail. I liked the characters in this. It's a single dad trope. I don't love to read about that type of thing, like with kids in it. So if there is one and it's good, make it a theme. You know what I mean? The details got me into the aesthetics of winter, and this was early November that I read this. Early fall, right after Halloween, I'm immediately in the mood for some type of Christmas thing. And this gave me that first hit, you know? What's it time to get into? Na 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 na. You know, Rocky Balboa theme song. Fantasy! So, One Dark Window. Ah! Normally I probably would have been like, this cover looks so scary. It looks so mature. It doesn't look like all sweet and cute fantasy. So why did I pick this up? Because I was recommended The Grace Year. And I loved it so much I said, okay, what do I read next? And then I was recommended Wilder Girls. And I said, oh my gosh, I am vibing with the idea of this. So what should I read next? There's a lot of thinking and I can't explain to you why. But this one, after those books, it itched a certain itch that was created from those books that I needed to devour. And this did that. Probably also because the main character is also a woman. The magic system in this book is still unlike any other book that I've read. And thus far, I read a lot of fantasy. So I've read a lot of magic systems. This is unlike anything that I've ever read before. It is phenomenal. It is iconic. I am so excited for the next book to come out. I am sitting on the edge of my seat currently. I mean, I'm literally worried that I'm going to fall off. I am not sure where this book is going to go. Is it going to be a duology? Is it going to be a trilogy? Is it going to be an ongoing series? I hope so. This book got me really excited for the direction that fantasy is moving in. The books that I picked for my 25th video, it's not like they're all the best books that I've ever seen. No. So why did I pick this one? Because the magic system is different than anything that I've ever read before. And this just got me excited because it feels like the minds of fantasy writers are expanding. That means we have some new probably tropes coming out. Love it that people are connected energetically, even though we don't think in that way as far as society is concerned. So I'm really excited for the expansion of us as fantasy reader community as a whole and where we're going with that. There's also romance in this, and I love the romance in this book. I love this book. Let's get into series. The Dance of Thieves duology. This book right here is the very first book that I read with a map in it. How exciting is that? That is big. That's a big deal. And that's awesome that I know that. That is such a big deal because, you know, as you become a fantasy reader, the maps just become so, like, you judge a book by the map, kinda. Like, is it a cool map? These are the first fantasy books that I got from the YA section, and at first I was so thrown off that I was going to the YA section because, again, I was a nonfiction reader before. So my mindset was YA, young adult. Aren't people gonna think that I'm stupid if I read in the YA? Aren't people gonna think that I'm below my reading level, like I'm 25? No, oh my gosh, that's so not the way that I think now, and I love YA. I live in the YA section, but I just remember that being the conversation that I had with myself going to find these books for the first time. And so these are just such an important part of my journey because I'm such a fantasy girly through and through now. The fantasy romance in these books, oh my gosh. I did not read the Remnant Chronicles prior to these. Morrigan, the Remnant Chronicles, and then Dance of Thieves. That's the order that I would recommend it to you in. What's Morrigan? This is the very first book ever that I got a special edition for and that I waited for it to come out. I was so incredibly excited. I read this book half of a day. The pictures really set the scene for the world building throughout the Remnant Chronicles and then the Dance of Thieves duology. I would love for her to create more books in this universe. I'm not sure if it's gonna happen. In all of the other books, there is reference to this story. This may as well be the creation story. This book holds a very special place in my heart because it's my first collector's edition of a book ever. And the way that this is kind of like the creation story and it's small but it also has the pictures would be so amazing if we got that for other fantasy series. This is almost like its own map to the other types of the other series within the universe. I'm talking about fantasy series. We have Percy Jackson. So you'll notice there's only 4 here. Like I said, I'm taking the number count of the books very seriously. And the first book I had read so many times that I did not include the first one. I love Greek mythology. I love how this is done. I know there's another one coming out this year I'm very excited about. This is also the first series that I ever asked an employee from Barnes & Noble where I can find it. I looked in the YA section for an hour and then I was like, there's no way they don't have it. Then I started thinking, I know that there's a banned books section now and I didn't know. I remember reading this when I was in elementary school. I figured potentially these were banned books, so I was just making sure that they had them. He took me to the children's section. The children's section. I don't care. I love Percy Jackson. I flew through this. I did 5. I read all 5 books in 1 month and it was so fun. I looked forward to this. It was a very great month of my life and I'm pretty sure that that was January. This series at the time was the longest series that I had read in fiction thus far, besides Harry Potter when I was in 5th grade. So I was very hyped about this series and it made me want to read more series. It's definitely a stepping stone on my journey. I'm very grateful for these books. The last 5 books that I had to share with you, dun 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 dun, ACOTAR, of course it is. This is my first big girl fantasy series that I finished. It took me a month. I read this in the month of June, so I'm still freshly off the high of ACOTAR. Oh my gosh, did this become my personality? Series is the reason that I'm on YouTube. I swear, this series has changed the way that I look at the world. Nesta, my girl. Cassian, my guy. There's not words for this that I can just sum up for what this series did to me. It made me feel like a woman. Man, I feel like a woman. That's how I feel now that I've got this series under my belt. I even included the Christmas one. I actually really enjoyed this one. I'm a present giver and like presents my love language. So if you create a novella just of like what people are getting each other for Christmas, I'm gonna read it. I also feel like there's not enough talk about how this novella sets up this book so well. There's so many things that started in this book or that's touched on this book that is re-brought back up in this one. The novella plays such an important part of Silver Flames being one of the most iconic books of all time. For that, I'm thankful. For that, it deserves a spot on the 25 books that I talk about that I read while I was 25. This series has made me feel powerful, like a child again. This series is so inspiring. This series is so, this series, I'm like, yeah, I love reading. Yes, I love my imagination. Yes, I could daydream all freaking day. You know? All right, those are my 25 books that I felt confident about choosing to show you how I've kind of morphed and flowed and transformed as a reader the past year of my life. I am so excited that right after my birthday, we're entering my favorite time of year, fall, witchiness, all the vibes. Thank you so much for coming on this journey with me, listening to my stories, listening to how I've changed as a reader over the past year. I am so grateful. I would love to hear in the comments what book has changed you as a reader over the past year of your life. I love you so much. I will see you later and enjoy your day. Happy birthday to me.
Yeah, be loved now.